Ricky drew the short straw this morning.
Yeah, it's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
That someone's you.
Well, the house is definitely looking a lot cleaner now, but I reckon most of it's now on Ricky.
To be fair, it wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was going to be because, I mean, it's gone dead still now, but it has been really windy, so most of it's been sort of blown around to the left and the right, and not too much has gone over me, but yeah, definitely still need a rinse off. But yeah, we're getting rid of all that debris now. It's everything that's left over from where we've been chasing out the concrete between the stones, because next week and possibly the week after, we've got some lovely cool weather coming. So we want to capitalize on it and try and get the rendering done. And obviously once that rendering's done, we don't really want to blow all of that debris out or have the wind blow it out and potentially have it stick to the render. Plus this week we're going to attempt to pour our new window sills, and it just seems to make sense to get rid of it before we do that as well, so it's not dropping down on our lovely new sills.
Can you even see out of those glasses anymore?
They're not too bad. There we go, good as new. We're just doing all of our cuts to make the forms for the new sills. Do you call them forms or moulds when you're talking about a sill?
Form.
Okay, form. Yeah, we're using offcuts of OSB. Don't crucify us, I know this is not the right thing. If you're making something, ideally you'd have like a smooth furniture board or a plywood or something like that, but those things are expensive, and we have got quite a lot of offcuts of this really thick, strong 18mm OSB 3 left over from when we did the roof. So we're going to try and put some of it to good use. Of course, we do not want this OSB texture to be left imprinted on our new sill, so what we're going to do is basically cover it and wrap it to try and get a smooth finish. But yeah, that gives you an indication of how thick the sills are going to be. This is going to be the front part of the form, so hopefully beautiful chunky new sills are on the way. How on earth did he get in there so quickly?
I don't know, maybe he's had the ultimate waltzers experience as you've been cutting.
Come on, buddy. There you go.
Just like that, we're done.
Tell you what, two things that I want before we get onto the interior of the tiny house. First one, table saw. Like this would just be so easy. Just set the size you want, push it through.
Yeah.
Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. The second thing is build some sort of like movable workbench. For any of you who've been watching a long time, you'll know that we've had like a ramshackle setup like this of just a couple of fold out horses and a piece of wood or something as like a table for ages. And like, yeah, it's okay, but I just want something a bit more substantial that doesn't feel quite as rickety.
It's just never made it to the top of the priority list.
No,
but...
well, it will soon.
And one more thing for the list.
Yep.
I'd like a pony. I've been asking for 14 years. Why stop now?
I'll tell you what, a pony is at the bottom, but it's under the list. That's how far down it is off the list.
My silence speaks volumes.
While Ricky's just finishing up with the last of the cuts, I'm going to start wrapping all of these pieces of wood in this thick black plastic. I know who's got the easier of the two jobs.
Well, we can switch if you want, and you can figure out these little angles.
No, we're good.
Come on then, you little scally. Come on. Let's go. Come in, Ted. Good boy. So before we start to assemble these forms, I just want to take a minute to speak to you about Birdfeed, the sponsor of today's video. So if you've not heard of Birdfeed before, they create a range of smart bird products that have inbuilt camera technology.
We get so many different types of bird on the farm, but I can never get there with my camera in time to get a photo of them to then be able to tell what kind of bird it actually is. So we've been so pleased with this smart bird feeder.
We have the Birdfeed feeder, which has an integrated 1080p camera. It can film during the day and the night. The nighttime even has full color. The model we have has AI bird recognition, and it can recognize over 6,000 species. It's really easy to install. It has an incredible inbuilt battery that can last up to 6 months off of one charge, or if you get the optional solar panel, that will keep it topped up.
The camera's got a motion detector, so when a bird lands on your feeder, you get a notification to your device, and then you can either watch it live or you can watch the video back later on.
Once the AI has recognized a bird, you can then click through and it will take you to the Wikipedia page where you can learn all about that species.
Yeah, we really love the AI feature and being able to learn all about the birds. Plus, being able to share your little videos with your friends and family is just lovely. It makes such a nice sentimental gift for somebody's birthday, retirement, or if you're in the US, Mother's Day is just around the corner.
So Birdfeed are giving you the chance to win one of the Birdfeed feeders that we've got here. The link to enter is below in the description. It's free to enter, so give it a whirl. But if you're not the lucky one who wins the feeder, Birdfeed are giving all of our subscribers 15% off until the 31st of May. Just use our discount code below. So thanks to Birdfeed for sponsoring today's video, and good luck to all of you with the competition.
It might look a little bit of a Frankenstein job, but is it strong?
Yeah, it feels strong. I mean, it's pretty heavy for what it is. It looks a bit strange, but we've tried to construct it in a way so that once it's in place, Poppy's going crazy. Once it's in place and we need to get the form off, everything's going to be really easy to access. So we don't really want many screws underneath here because it's going to be supported from under the wall. And yeah, that'll be really easy to get out. It's obviously going to be clamped as well. And now I just need to get some silicone and seal up all of these edges to make sure nothing's going to, what's the word, squeeze through. Seep, that's the word.
Yeah, we don't want any seepage.
No seeping, no peeping.
Hello, crazy. You exhausted yourself.
Dipping my finger in some soapy water and just smoothing all this out because this is going to be the front of our sill. So yeah, we want this to look nice and smooth. It's also going to create a little bit of a bevel on the poured bit of concrete. Hopefully, that's the plan anyway. Okay, so that's one down. I've got 3 more to build and then silicone in all the seals, and then we'll be ready tomorrow to get them on the windows.
Everything grows like crackers in spring. I've never seen anything grow as quickly as it does here. Take, for example, this weed. It is an absolute whopper.
I can't even get it in, hang on.
Bearing in mind what am I, 6'2", Ricky? I kind of just want to let it grow and just see how big it can actually get.
As much as we both want to see how big it's going to go, unfortunately, probably next week it's going to have to come down because we've got some more land clearance to do before the end of the month. So yeah, the mighty weed is going to have to go as part of that clearance. Silicone dry-ish?
No, I think it's dry completely.
Time to get them fitted.
The moment of truth.
Also, I've just seen we got some new anti-vibration gloves the other day to use with the SDS. And look at these things. They look like something Kanye West would wear.
They are some chunky monkeys.
Yeah. Harder, better, faster, stronger. God, they're so weird.
We're struggling a bit with these forms, and after a lot of back and forth, I think we've come to the realisation that they're not going to work and we need a new plan.
So I'm going to keep this explanation as short and sweet as possible because, if I'm being completely honest with you, the mood here has turned a little bit sour upon this realisation. So when I was building this stone wall, the plan was that we were going to face fix our forms onto the front. So this was going to sit down below the level and cover all this up. All the concrete that we pour was going to take over that, and then we get a nice flush level on the underside of the sill. But then the other day when we came to actually planning how to do these forms, we kind of realised pretty quickly that that wasn't going to work, because if you were doing this on a brick wall, it would be fine. This would sit on the face, it would be nice and straight with the line on the form on the bottom, same on the sides. You can just clamp the two pieces together and pour it. But on a stone wall, the wall waves around everywhere in this direction. So when that goes on the face, we've got big, deep holes there between the face of the wall and the inside of the form. So we'd have to find some way to block that up. And we just couldn't find a way to either make the form hug the wall closely and tightly, or to find something to fill that gap. So we decided what we would do instead of face fixing it would be to inset it. So sit it on top of the wall that I built and kind of had the frame go about 20 mil into the stone. However, what that means is that we now just have gaps between the top of the wall and the form, and the same, oh, you can't see it there, but the same on the sides as well. So we could try and fill those gaps. I could also kind of smooth off with concrete or mortar the tops of those walls to make them straighter so the forms would sit flush. But the reality is that now we're standing here with these forms in front of us, it really doesn't feel that strong, and it's really not a good base to be pouring concrete. It just feels a bit like we are fighting a losing battle, and there's a much easier solution in front of us.
It is annoying to make this decision and waste off these, but we had fun making them. And the thought of when we're actually pouring the concrete and it's starting to seep out of the forms, or the forms just completely fall apart because of the pressure, that would just be a category 10 stressful moment.
It's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow for me, this one, if I'm being honest, because when we were first planning on pouring these sills in place, I knew in my gut that this wouldn't work. There were so many problems that got raised at the time, but because we thought about pouring it in situ and just having it done, we tried to problem solve our way around all the issues instead of just maybe acknowledging that it wasn't going to work and finding a different route. But it is what it is. Can't dwell on it. We just have to keep moving forward and learn the lesson that next time you feel it in your gut that there's a problem, listen and save yourself some time and bother.
This renovation, we've ended up with so many odds and ends of leftover materials. So we've still got a few sheets of the roofing insulation left. It's got a pretty smooth surface and it's relatively strong. So we're going to try and make use of it for these moulds. Plus it has the added bonus that we don't need to wrap it, because using that black plastic on the OSB, it was pretty time consuming to do. So we think the insulation is probably going to be a better bet for the second time round of these moulds.
Okay, that's our 4 moulds done, and just in the nick of time because it started raining as well, so I've just brought them under cover. Feeling a bit more positive about these than I was the moulds that we were going to put in place. So I just need to run around, silicone all the edges so nothing can get through, and then they're ready for concrete to go in. So the day to pour our sills has finally arrived. We've just been talking, saying we're a bit nervous because it's not like if you're building something with wood and if it goes wrong, you can just rectify it, change it, take it apart, do something different. When you're making concrete, it's just so final. You just have to do it, kind of hope for the best, and either be happy with the end result, however it turns out, imperfections and all, or smash it up, rebuild a form, do it all again, which neither of us want to do. So we're experimenting a little bit here to try and get the desired colour and finish that we want. We're using a mix of different coloured fine and sharp sands, as well as a pale aggregate. Oh, and white cement, that's a key thing. Hopefully we're going to get something that resembles a kind of beigey, naturally stone colour, but still nice and light.
So this is a good example of what we're aiming for. We'll have to see if we're successful in it or not.
Okay, this is the first that you've told me that's what we're aiming for. I think it's going to end up a bit brighter.
Oh, well, bright is good because this is mucky.
Okay, fine. Having a quick caffeine break with the doggos because we're trying to let this thing mix really thoroughly. The last thing we want is for there to be kind of unevenness from one side to the other. We want to try and get it as smooth in tone and colour as possible.
With that in mind, we're keeping this big boy well away from it because otherwise we are going to end up with copious amounts of dog hair in our mix. He's molting like crazy at the minute.
Getting rid of that winter coat.
Oh, buddy, don't be ashamed.
Teddy, come here.
Come here.
You wiener.
There's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Quite a nice looking colour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like biscuity.
Yummy, yummy. In my tummy. Yeah, I don't think we've got any concerns about it drying too dark. If anything, I think it might be too bright.
You might need your sunglasses on when it's dry. Colour match?
Yeah. Oh, it's going to go a lot lighter than that.
A lot brighter, yeah. So we're just using a bit of vegetable oil to grease up the mould, so hopefully it'll release nicely and it'll not stick. gobbling it up.
It really is.
This is very ASMR.
That was my mouth.
Sure. Ricky's managed to get that so smooth and glossy, but we are going to be using this little tool which is going to give a nice curved edge on the front side so that it's not sharp and so that you don't catch yourself on it. But this is actually going to ruin that smooth surface, so he is going to have to work it again.
Okay, I've just finished up one of the front ones. The concrete mix has pretty much lasted perfectly because I've barely got any left, so I'm going to have to do another mix for those two. But it's now been about 45 minutes-ish since I finished this off. So now it's time to get that edging tool that Victoria was on about and attempt to go around and do this. Never used one of these before. I'm a bit nervous about wrecking it at this point. I'm going to try and do all four sides, so it's just kind of rounded off all the way around. Let's see how it goes.
While Ricky's mixing up some more mortar, I'm sat in a rainstorm. Oh, Pop's getting wet, isn't it? Come under here. Come around this way. You dry. Okay. Good. Okay, so I am trying to plan out our drip irrigation plan. The pack that I ordered came and it seemed pretty straightforward, but that was the sum total of the instructions manual. So I'm trying to figure out all of the different parts because there are quite a few. In this pack there are 282 pieces. Got to figure out the plan I want, but I think I'm getting somewhere. I went for this pack because it seemed to be quite flexible, and obviously as I'm planting different things in the beds, the emitters are probably going to need moving around. I want to get the drip irrigation sorted in the next week or two because things are starting to grow, but I don't want to go into it without a plan, so I've got to do my homework first.
I find that finishing concrete is equal parts relaxing and infuriating. You can be working it and getting it looking perfect and you feel you're just about to come to the end, and then just one tiny bit with too much pressure and you ruin a section, you have to do it all over again. I'm at a point now where I've done as much as I can. You need to keep coming back to it after certain periods of time. So after you've done the first edging, I need to come back about 3 hours later once it's gone a bit stiffer, do another edging and smooth it all off. Then about 5 hours after that original pour, I then need to come and kind of sponge it off to try and get a bit of a rougher finish for it. That's going to be less smooth and a bit more kind of natural, a bit more stone looking. But I wish I'd started this earlier because my list of different times I need to come back and do things is pretty unrealistic. I mean, the last thing is to come back at midnight. I'm definitely not doing that. It's going to be a pretty interesting evening trying to finish a lot of this under lamplight. Hopefully I don't make an absolute mess of it. So it was a bit of a late one last night. Wasn't actually too bad. I think the last time I came out was about 11 o'clock. And to be fair, when I came out at that time to sponge, those last two were slightly too wet. Like I would have preferred them to be drier, so the aggregates come out a bit more than I wanted, but there was no way I was going to come down and do it later. It was really hard enough doing it in the dark. We're down this morning to see how that went and also to take the forms off.
Yeah, I've not seen it for a couple of steps, so I'm quite excited to see what you managed to pull off.
Oh, that looks good. That looks really good. Will that be like the finished feel, or will it start and get a bit smoother?
We'll brush it once it's completely dry and it'll smooth it off slightly, but yeah, it will be a little bit rough and textured. Au naturel.
I'm impressed, Ricky. Well done.
Still got to take the forms off. Hold your impressiveness. I didn't even say that.
No idea. I'll hold my impressiveness until after that. It's pretty stuck.
Bit of honeycombing, but small.
This first mix was a lot drier, wasn't it, going into that?
Yeah, I don't suspect we're going to have any honeycombing like this on the final two. I think it's gone off a bit too much to be able to work it.
Oh, that noise!
Well, that's good. It's definitely a bit harder than I would have liked, but it's still workable with a damp sponge.
The slope on this looks good.
Yeah?
Yeah, are you pleased with it?
Just dawned on me that amongst all the mistakes that we made on the first lot of forms, haven't even explained what we've done with the front ones. So you might be wondering why we've made each window into two different pieces, two different sills. That's because we've got a smaller one that's going to be on the front, then there's going to be a break that's going to have some insulation in between to get a thermal break from the outside and the inside, and then we're going to have the bigger sill on the inside. We've also put a slight, very slight 5-degree slope on the external sills, although to be fair, we don't really need it because they're going to be protected underneath the veranda, so they're never actually going to see any rain, but we thought we'd just put a slight slope on anyway, and that's also the reason why we haven't put a drip edge. If anything, there's even more honeycombing.
Oh no! So wetter is not necessarily better.
These were like so heavily vibrated as well. One thing I will say though, these wetter ones are still so much softer. Like, look, I think even with my finger, I can get rid of those little bubbles. So we'll see. Might turn out okay. Looks good.
It looks very good.
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. I sort of wish the top looked more like the front.
Yeah, I agree, but
The top's a bit too textured. I think I got to it a bit too early, but maybe we'll find a way to soften it. Well, I think that was a success.
big success. And after the situation we had before with the ones we were trying to pour in the window frame, I'm just so pleased that these have turned out and we've not got a bucket load of wet concrete down the face of those stones.
Very true. The moral of this video, if at first you don't succeed, scrap everything off and change all your plans.